Revenge films.
My girlfriend and I worked at the same office, but after dating her for a year, she started acting awkward around me, and we were spending more time separately. To my surprise, I was pretty calm, and just when I started to think it was about time to end things, we had a problem.
I'm pregnant with your baby.
She suddenly informed me happily. I was answering my own questions in my mind, knowing that was impossible. Actually, because of a disease I had when I was a baby, I couldn't impregnate women. I had azoospermia, so it was impossible for her to get pregnant. I haven't told her about my health condition yet, but she suddenly told me she was pregnant, so I was shocked. But when I heard her tell me this, I felt two different sets of emotions. Firstly, a miracle might have happened and she really got pregnant with my baby. The second was that she was lying. At this point, I wasn't sure which was the case, so I was still taken back. But I told her that I should go greet her parents in that case, and then she happily started planning when we'd go and meet her parents. I was hopeful that I really managed to impregnate her, so before I went to meet her parents, I got another health checkup. But the results were the same as last time, just like I thought. So I explained everything to my parents and asked for their advice. Actually, my father was a doctor, so he explained to me about many things, including the results of the checkup. On top of that, I told my parents about my idea, and they agreed to help. A few weeks later, on a weekend, I visited my girlfriend's parents with my own parents.
You're late.
It was my happy-looking girlfriend and her mother who looked worried that greeted us at the door. Her father was sitting in the living room looking like a demon. I handed her some souvenirs I got for them to be polite, and it was time for us to face each other. As soon as we all got seated, before we could greet each other, her father suddenly yelled at us. He insulted me as much as he wanted about ruining his daughter's purity, and spat out that my father must also be a bastard if he was the parent of a bastard like me. Her mother was also in tears, saying that her daughter was a pure girl, so she was sure that she got pregnant after I forcefully assaulted her. She told me with her husband to pay them compensation to prove to them about how serious I was about her. When I glanced at my girlfriend, she was telling her mother to stop as if to protect me, but it seemed like she was putting on an act. Then her father said, "How about you say something? Are you really a man?" I was waiting for him to yell at me like this. I'm sorry I kept it a secret. I apologized first, then I continued. Actually, I can't impregnate women, I said in a firm voice. Both my girlfriend and her parents looked confused, as if they couldn't process what I just told them. My father then took out some papers from his bag, placed them in front of her father, and started explaining in a calm voice, using many scientific words I've also never heard of in my life, as he looked very, very proud of himself. After giving a thorough explanation, her father still seemed confused, so he explained it to him once again, taking even more time to explain. As I listened to him next to him, oh, I see, I get it now. I was finally able to understand some parts. As he went on with the explanation, I saw my girlfriend's face harden, and her father also looked fierce, but with a different reason compared to when he was yelling at me. At last, my father ended by saying that it really was a miracle if she managed to get pregnant with my baby. From the perspective of a doctor, he said he was interested in giving her multiple checkups. Then my girlfriend's father looked at her and said, "What is going on? If he can't impregnate women, whose baby are you pregnant with?" He was yelling at her. Unlike her calm attitude she had been keeping, now it was clear that she was panicking from her expression.
No, this is all a misunderstanding.
She said, but after my father gave them a thorough explanation, it was pretty clear to everyone that I wasn't the baby's father. So everyone looked pretty annoyed by her, who still refused to admit it. But my father and I were done with explaining everything, and I didn't even want to know who the baby's father was. So my father and I decided to go home. So I guess the rest is your problem? Oh, and because she tried to deceive me into becoming the baby's father, I'm planning to ask for compensation money. When I said that, all of them went pale, but we left, leaving them like that. As soon as we left, I heard her father yelling in a loud voice, and I heard something shatter into pieces, and at last my girlfriend's cries echoed through the neighborhood. When my father made eye contact with me, "Good work, son," he said to comfort me. I felt very apologetic towards him for getting him involved in this mess, but he was patting my shoulder as if to tell me not to worry about it, and I felt like he was my savior. On the next weekend after we visited her parents came to visit me and my parents. Her parents arrived with a lot of gifts, looking very apologetic, which was exactly the opposite of how we were last time. Firstly, they apologized about saying rude things to us the other day and informed us that the father of their daughter's pregnancy was someone else. The day after we visited her parents, she didn't come to work, but when she came to work the next day, she had a bruise on her face. And she went home without talking to me, never daring to make eye contact with me. Starting the next day, she stopped coming to work again, and my boss told me that she'd resign. I haven't heard anything from her, but I kind of figured what happened, so nothing was surprising. According to her father, she participated in a matchmaking party behind my back, and she was having an affair with a man she got to know there. But the guy ran away as soon as he found out about her pregnancy, which was pretty typical. She didn't know what to do, so she planned to lie that I was the baby's father and give birth. But I bet she never expected that I wasn't able to impregnate women. After that, I made her pay compensation money just like I told her. I had a condition that couldn't make her pregnant, so we were able to find out the truth. But if there was nothing wrong with my body, I would have been deceived by her and accepted her pregnancy. And I would have married her before I could break up with her. Then I would have had to take care of a baby who wasn't my own for the rest of my life without knowing anything. I never thought she'd get pregnant, but she told me that she really loved me, and it was the truth when she said she wanted to get married to me. But it really made no sense when she tried to lie to me about the baby's father. After that, her parents also agreed to pay me compensation money, and she had no other choice but to agree to pay in the end. Well, she's pregnant now, so her parents will pay everything at once for the time being, and she'll find a job once she gives birth, have her parents manage her salary, and agree to then pay her parents back. I don't know how the baby will be treated after birth, but it's a precious life, so I don't want them to treat it lightly. When I first found out about my condition and that I'd never be able to have a baby, I felt like I hit rock bottom in life, but I never expected that it would help me out in the future. Well, I'm feeling mixed emotions, but I'm really glad that I didn't have to get married deceived by my partner. My wife started working part-time in the casual restaurant where I was the manager. She was 23 years old then, she was divorced, and had a child. While her parents were watching the child, she worked at the restaurant. We started talking and dating and got married when she was 24. Then she changed her job to another restaurant. We were concerned about the baby and decided not to have our own children. We set our monthly allowance for $250 each and deposited most of her income into our savings. I've worked this job for 6 years and they paid well, but I didn't have weekends off at all, so I decided to change the job to spend more time with my family. Also, my wife complained that she's a single mother. 2 months or so after I changed jobs, I started having doubts about my wife's behavior. The most obvious was that she rejected me in the bedroom. Before, she even initiated it sometimes, but now she didn't even like me near her, and soon it became totally non-existent. I couldn't imagine she would have an affair, so I thought maybe it was a midlife crisis. Also, about the same time, she went to see a doctor for her irregular cycle and was prescribed birth control pills. About a year later, she started to lock her phone or went out often to meet with her friends. I started to get suspicious and got the password to access her social media using a data logger. The password was strangely the name of her younger brother, who was not on good terms with her. But once I got it, I felt a mixed feeling of guilt, denial, and fear, which stopped me from opening and looking at it. But nothing happened for the next 6 months or so. One day we argued about our income being insufficient. When I checked the balance, the retirement benefit from my previous work for about $30,000 was gone, and so was the savings that we were supposed to put in monthly. When I confronted her about this, she just said she didn't know and didn't understand. Sometimes a few $1,000s were withdrawn in a month, and I don't know wouldn't cut it anymore. I completely lost trust in her and opened her social media, which I had been reluctant to do by that point. Then there were just so many secrets. I didn't know the password to her phone, and she kept her phone with her, so I didn't expect to find anything from it. But there was an SD card sticking out, so I checked it, and there were so many email exchanges with her alleged lovers. Not only one, but a few. Looks like there was a main one of 28 years old among them. Others included a young TV personality. It was clear that she was spending our money on them. Naturally, I was shocked and felt desperate at first, but then I consulted a private investigator and a lawyer. The emotional pain of my wife's betrayal was worse than I ever imagined. I could barely sleep from the anger and hatred towards her, while she slept like a baby next to me, knowing nothing. But one day, while the investigation was ongoing, we had a small argument which led me to question her unintentionally. She quickly tried to delete some data on her phone, and I tried to stop it and grab her phone by force. She then hysterically shouted at our daughter, "Call the police!" Then 4 police officers showed up in no time with all the firearms and bulletproof vests equipped. But of course I wasn't violent in any way, and they deemed non-intervention in civil matters and left quickly. Our daughter also called my father-in-law, so he came over too. I told him that we couldn't live together and asked him to take her back to his home. But he was always soft on her, and he chose to stand on the side saying, "This is between you two." We had a talk on a different day, and then she admitted her infidelity. She was pretty cornered, and I didn't suspect anything more. She properly apologized to me, crying. She was too emotional and started hyperventilating and collapsed there. That convinced me that it was a genuine apology, and I compromised by forgiving her just this once. I demanded compensation from her lovers, though, and I told her to never contact her former lovers and made her give me her phone. Those were the conditions. I also made her close all of her social media accounts. But once a cheater, always a cheater. I just hoped that wasn't the case with us. Then, it was 4 years later. We had been doing okay since then, But she started talking about her boss at her work often, who seemed to get along with her. He had the same birthday as her and went to the same elementary school, although they didn't know each other then. That sounded like something women might think of as fate. But she talked about him to me, so I wasn't too concerned, but still kept my guard up. Not long before, she started to reject me again. I was suspicious and told myself there would never be another chance, yet I was still hoping she wouldn't betray me for the second time. I felt uneasy all the time and was thinking about starting to check her behavior again. Then this time, she brought up divorce. The reason was that I wasn't thinking about the family at all and being a bad father. If that was true, I would have had a child of my own ages ago. We agreed when we got married that her daughter would be our only child, and I raised her as my own with such love, so much that the people around me saw me as a devoted father and doting parent. So the reason she chose to divorce was I was a bad father? That felt like a punch in my face. What have I been doing all these years? I was heartbroken, and I didn't even care if she was having an affair or not. She also called up her father, and when he got here, told him the same thing about divorce. When she was unfaithful to me before, he chose to be a bystander, but now he was furious.
If you neglect your family, you can't blame her for wanting divorce. We don't need a man who would neglect your daughter.
So I said, "You've seen how I loved and cherished my daughter all these years. When I told my wife I didn't mind not having a child of my own, she was moved by my gesture and cried. Where did those tears go?" I was drained and emotionally exhausted. I showed them something I had for a while. It was the investigation report from the agency, since I was suspicious. Then the two turned white. My wife asked me why and accused me of doing it, but it wasn't rocket science to figure out when it was exactly the same pattern as the first time. She couldn't say anything. Her father said,
"That was just a misunderstanding earlier."
So I said, "I don't care anymore. I knew you always spoiled your daughter, but I don't want to live together when you see me as a neglectful, unqualified father. Of course, a wife who committed adultery twice is out of the question." And she cried out, "Please wait!" But I ignored her no matter what she said and just left the house. When I stepped out of the house, my daughter caught me. She asked me, "Are you leaving?" So I said yes, the truth. She thought the reason why I was leaving was the incident years ago when she called the police as her mother told her to do. She said crying, "Please don't go, I'm sorry." The two didn't see it, but my daughter knew I loved her, which was nice to find out. But I told my daughter, "I couldn't live with your mother, but you can call me anytime if you want to see me." And she nodded, crying. My divorce was finalized. I demanded compensation from her lover, of course. As a result, he was broke and dumped her. She begged me to come back and start over many times, but not this time. Her father did the same. He said he was wrong and kept calling me and leaving messages, but I didn't care. I demanded compensation from my ex-wife, too, of course. She tried to point at me for the cause of divorce, so I included that, too. It came down to a little under $100,000. They seemed panicked, but it wasn't my concern. After a while, she was abandoned by her father and moved into a small apartment. She was dumped by her lover and had a huge debt. It must be hard for her to live with her daughter, but I don't have the slightest bit of sympathy. She caused it all herself. My name is Ken. My girlfriend, Riley, is 4 years older than me, and I met her when I was a senior at college while I worked part-time at a bookstore, and we started dating. I was the staff working there, and she was the customer. Riley was the one who approached me first, but I was attracted to her pure but mature aura, and I quickly fell for her. We were getting along great. After I graduated college, I found a job and I was still in a nice relationship with Riley. But after my job was getting stable, Riley was 27 and she started to think about marriage. I was still 23 and it had still been 2 years since I got a full-time job, so I thought it was fast for me to get married. But she was the only one I wanted to get married to. So we decided to get married, and we agreed to go meet her parents sometime after discussing it with her. That morning I was very nervous. The reason was because I've never met her parents before. It turns out that her father loved her so dearly, and he was very strict. So when she wanted to introduce her boyfriend to her parents before...
I won't meet a guy who's not determined enough to get married to you.
And he never took her seriously. So now that we were getting married, I was finally approved to meet her parents. After I went inside the house, I greeted them in the most respectful way possible. Then, as soon as I looked up...
You! How dare you ruin my daughter's purity!
I heard his voice, and the next thing I knew, his fist was in my face, and my body was blown away. My nose was bleeding, and because my head and back were slammed into the corner of the pillar, my back was hurt, and I was about to lose consciousness, and I was feeling dizzy. As I felt the pain destroying me, I couldn't process what had just happened. Huh? Was I just punched in the face? While I was in shock, Riley and her mother approached me asking,
Are you all right?
But I finally understood what was going on, seeing her father hovering over me with a demonic expression. And I really thought he was gonna kill me, so despite being barely conscious, I quickly left their house. I was so desperate I didn't even know how I managed to drive home. The only thing I knew was that my shirt I bought for this occasion had turned red with my blood. After I went home, I still didn't understand why I was punched in the face. When I got into my room, I took off my shirt that had turned red with blood, and I washed it with my hands, but the blood stains didn't come off, and I was so confused why I had to go through all this. As I washed myself in confusion and treated my wounds on my face, Riley contacted me. I was hesitant, thinking she might say something to me again, but I ended up answering the call. Then Riley said,
Oh, are you home now? Listen, Dad said he'll forgive you now for hooking up with me. Good for you.
Huh? How was that good for me? I didn't understand what she was saying. And while I was in confusion, I was scared at the same time towards Riley, who dared to say that it was good for me in a normal tone after her father punched me in the face and I flew across the room. When I looked at myself in the mirror, my face had swollen because of the punch. What was so good about this? I was so confused. I was just punched in the face for no reason.
Huh? It's meaningful. Dad adores me, so he's forgiving you after giving you a single punch. He's kind, isn't he? And your wounds are like your medals of your achievements. You should be happier about it. It was really worth getting punched.
What are you saying? I got punched when I did nothing wrong. I'm obviously filing a victim's report.
Huh? What are you saying? You got punched in return for hooking up with me. You deserved that punch.
We're living in a modern era. How is punching someone all of a sudden something normal to do? Her father never even tried to apologize to me. I really couldn't handle Riley, who felt like this was what I deserved, just like what her father thought.
Hey, you have to be kidding. Filing a victim's report? What did Dad do to you? He forgave you just by giving you a single punch. What are you gonna do if the victim's report affects his job?
As I listened to her, I got shocked at how thoughtless I was to decide to get married to someone like her. It's true that her father worked for a large corporation, and I remember hearing about him having a high position, but that wasn't my business. Riley kept saying something, but while I listened to her shrieks, my headaches were worsening, so I hung up to head to the hospital as soon as possible. When I was about to hang up, I heard her say,
Don't go to the hospital.
but I obviously ignored her. After that, I got a thorough checkup at the hospital. Then the doctor told me,
You were lucky. If your wound was just a few centimeters to the right, you might have gotten disabled for the rest of your life.
I felt chills behind my back. Riley and her father blamed me for taking away her purity and whatnot, but she still lived with her parents, so I thought I should follow their rules until we got married. So I always sent her home before her curfew, and we never had sleepovers together, and I was trying my best to cherish her in my own ways. But this was how I ended up. After that, just like I said, I sent the company a proof of content to sue Riley's father. This was an act of violence and one that I'll ask for compensation money for. A few hours later, Riley contacted me in a panic. According to what she told me, her father was getting transferred to a local branch in the countryside. His salary was cut to half of what he used to get, and once someone gets transferred there, they'll never be able to come back or move to another branch. And Riley blamed me for it. The more I talked with Riley, the more I hated her, and the more I was feeling calm. I didn't mind hating her because I was planning to break up with her, but it was emotionally tiring to see someone show their dirty sides of their personality.
Dad is being transferred to the countryside because of you. You better pay me $10 million for compensation. Dad would have made that much money if he kept his position.
She shrieked, but I responded. According to what the doctor told me, if the wound was a few centimeters to the right, I would have been disabled for the rest of my life. Why would I have to pay compensation money to your father who did something like this to me? I just did what I had the right to do.
You must be crazy. Your wounds are nothing compared to my dad's job transfer.
She shrieked, but I hung up ignoring her. After that, her father really did get a job transfer, and it looks like they were living in an expensive mansion because her father had a high salary, but they no longer had the money to live there, and they were kicked out after refusing to pay the rent. In the end, because he punched me, although I did nothing wrong and it risked my life, the amount of compensation money he had to pay me totaled up to a huge amount. So her family's savings were all gone, and using his salary that was cut to half of what he used to get, they'll pay me a fixed amount every month. I bet it'll be like living hell for Riley, who had been living an affluent life, but it was none of my business. But I really thought I made the right decision to break up with her. If I had gotten married to her before I realized how crazy they were, and if I found out in the middle of my marriage, it would have been too late. Thinking that way, I'm glad I got to realize that now. By the way, I heard that Riley moved into a small apartment with her mother after that, but they could no longer live their affluent lifestyle they were used to, and her father's salary was not enough to pay for my compensation money. So I heard that she had to sacrifice her own salary as well. If Riley had fought back along with me when he punched me in the face, staying on my side, maybe I wouldn't have broken up with her. I'd really had enough of dating and going to see my partner's parents. But if I ever meet someone who I want to get married to again, I hope her parents are sane and normal.
I lived with my husband and son. My son was still small and he was adorable.
Mommy, I need a cuddle.
I'm cooking right now, so wait a minute. My son, who was a bit clingy, was the cutest.
I'm home. Where's my meal?
I really couldn't believe he had this guy's DNA inside him. Welcome home. I thought you were eating out tonight.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah, you said you had to go drinking with your boss.
Oh, about that. It was canceled.
I'm cooking right now.
Aren't you being a bit too slow? It's already past 7.
My husband was very, very selfish. He thinks everything revolves around him. I was very irritated against him often nowadays.
Where's my food? I'm so hungry. And his chocolate looks nice.
That's Mike, so don't open it. When my son sees snacks before the meal, he would want to eat it before eating a full meal. But my husband never understands that I was purposefully keeping it out of Mike's eyesight.
Come on, it's okay. Mike, you want it too, right?
Yes!
Dinner is almost ready, so wait a bit more, okay?
One bite won't hurt. Here.
As a result...
I don't want to eat dinner.
But you have to eat.
No!
You don't have to force him. He ate 3 pieces of chocolate.
You're the one who gave him one after another. Hey, this all happened because you gave him chocolate.
How is it my fault? You're to be blamed for cooking so slow. Look, Mike looks sleepy.
Then go take a bath with Mike. I have to do the dishes.
Why? You're the mother. You don't even cook well. You should at least do that. Do the dishes when you have time, and wash this shirt for me and iron it. I want to wear it again tomorrow. Mike, you sleeping? Let's go to bed.
You're his dad. The reason why I was cooking late is because you made him sleep late last night. He'd been taking a long night, so I had to play with him longer to make him tired. That's the reason why. There was no way I could say that, and I was getting stressed out every day. But then my stupid husband often...
Oh, I'm a great dad.
Yes, he calls himself a great dad. When I had him carry Mike for a short time while we were shopping the other day, his boss spotted him coincidentally. And when he praised him about it at the office, his colleagues all called him a great dad in his department. I guess he was overjoyed that he now calls himself a great dad. The only person I can depend on was my mother-in-law. She was a great mother-in-law, unlike the typical in-laws who bullied you. And my beautiful mother-in-law would say, "You can always tell me when you need something," and always listened to what I had to say. One day she invited me to have tea with her, so I decided to go feeling refreshed. My mother-in-law adored my son so much after not seeing him for a while, and after she adored him for a good few minutes, she saw my face and pointed out how tired I looked. To be honest, I loved taking care of my son, so childcare wasn't so stressful, but my husband was stressing me out. But she was his real mother, so I didn't know if I should tell her or not. But there was no one I could talk to, so I blurted everything out in the end. Actually, it's about my husband. When I blurted out all the frustrations I felt against my husband every day. "I can't believe it! He calls himself a great dad! Oh, he's definitely misunderstanding!" I felt a bit better seeing her get mad at my husband, but she didn't plan to let it slide. "Okay then, if everyone praises him to be such a good father, let's actually have him be one." After she said that, she told me her plan. A few days later, my husband, my mother-in-law, Mike, and I all went out together. As we planned, we had my husband take care of Mike while my mother-in-law and I enjoyed shopping. When my husband tried to go look at some clothes, making me look after Mike as usual, my mother-in-law stopped him, saying, "Wait a moment," and made him cuddle Mike. Then he complained that it would be inconvenient for him when checking out the clothes, but his mother said, "Oh, I thought everyone praised you for being a great dad at your company. This should be an easy task for you." My husband was at a loss for words, and he was checking out his clothes as he cuddled Mike in the end, but it was obvious that he felt disturbed. After that, he tried to make me take care of Mike instead somehow, but because his mother stopped him every time, he couldn't argue back, and he took care of Mike without complaining. But a problem happened when we were eating lunch at a family restaurant. He was trying to feed Mike, following the flow of him taking care of Mike, but he was playing around and refusing to eat.
Mike, you have to eat properly.
No!
Oh boy, help me.
My husband was getting irritated, and I was starting to feel sorry for him, but then someone unexpected appeared.
Oh, look at you being a great father.
Boss!
It looks like he was coincidentally also eating here, and he came to greet us after hearing my husband's voice. He nodded in approval as he saw my husband taking care of our son.
I used to be a single father, so I understand how hard it is to raise a child.
Then my husband seemed to realize something about Mike.
I see. Huh? Mike, you smell.
I think you should take him to the bathroom. A few minutes later, I heard the shriek of my husband, who headed to the toilet, echo through the restaurant. When I quickly headed to the toilet, I found my husband covered in Mike's pee.
Hey, help me! How am I supposed to change his diaper?
His boss was shocked to hear him say that.
What does that mean? How come you don't even know how to change diapers? You told me that you do it all the time.
Then my husband looked clearly panicked.
This is not what you think. I kind of panicked,
He said, but his mother quickly added, "It makes me laugh to see him call himself a great dad. He never does a thing, forcing all the childcare duties to his wife. I plan to make him take care of his son sometime, so that's why I took him here today. I made him look after his son for a day."
What do you mean? What have you been doing during your childcare leave? Don't tell me you've been playing around at home.
My mother-in-law and I were shocked to hear that. The reason was because we never knew that he got a childcare leave. He always left for work even after I gave birth, but according to his boss, he was having a childcare leave for 2 months. Then my husband went pale and froze at his spot. I've always heard about his company providing their employees with childcare leaves.
That's what those who can't work ask for.
I never knew he would be the one to apply for it when he said that. He did stay at home sometimes, saying it was his paid leave, but he was never home that often this past 2 months. His boss was furious.
I'll discuss matters about you at my office,
He said and apologized to us for causing a scene and thanked us respectfully before going home. It was chaotic after that. His mother was furious, asking him what he'd been doing the past 2 months of childcare leave. And after questioning him for a while, he revealed that with the money he received as childcare support, he went gambling at the horse racing games. After that, my mother-in-law left him there soaking wet and went home. The next day, his company decided to cut his salary by a great margin. I was so irritated that I decided to go back to my parents for a while. Everyone in his company found out that he'd been lying about going on a childcare leave, and they all got mad at him. And he keeps on apologizing to me as he cries on the phone now that he was isolated. But I don't plan to forgive him so easily. To repay everything he's used up, he started working part-time as well, to earn the money that was cut from his salary, and that's what's stopping me from getting a divorce. My mother-in-law insists. "You should just get a divorce." So I don't know how things would turn out, but I plan to make him work, sacrificing his time to sleep so that he could atone for his actions. When I was mentally unstable and thought I was useless as an adult, I met a guy. He was a senior from another department, and he was 15 years older than me. Despite being part of a different department, he supported me at work, and he gave me advice with a mature demeanor, so I quickly fell in love with him, who was popular among female employees in my office. When I confessed my feelings to him, unable to hide it, he gladly accepted me as his girlfriend, and we started dating. Since then, I was able to work harder with my job because he was there for me. But at the same time, he was still popular among girls in the office. So even while being in a relationship with me, I got worried, hearing about rumors of other female employees also confessing their feelings to him. Hey, I think it's better if we tell everyone in the office that we're dating.
We're working at the same office and we're basically co-workers, so I think it's best if we don't tell anyone and keep it simple.
I wanted to feel reassured by telling everyone about our relationship, but I agreed to keep it a secret because he insisted we do so. About 2 months since we started dating, we haven't been able to go on dates because the both of us were very busy with our job, so we decided to make time for each other and went on a date. Then I started seeing his true colors. It was like making the concept of patriarchy 5 times worse. For example, when I told him I wanted to go on a beach date.
Huh? Why do I have to go somewhere you want to go? We're only going to go where I want to go.
He would refuse like that, and on another day. I have plans already that day. Let's go on a date another day. When I said that.
Are you stupid? If I decide to go on a date that day, you better prioritize me over any other plans.
Like that, I had to cancel my plans in front of him sometimes. Also, I disagreed to things he said during our conversations.
Huh? How dare you say your opinion? A stupid girl like you should just believe in what I say.
He would say something like that, and he forbade me to express any of my opinions when we were hanging out outside of work. Thinking back, I would have dumped him instantly if I dated him now, but back then I was too pure and young. I thought I had to follow his orders to become the woman he wanted to date. Love is blind. That was what was happening to me, and I wasn't able to realize how creepy he was. We dated for almost a year, and I guess he was starting to take advantage of me, who kept following his orders. He started treating me like a slave. I also worked full-time, but I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning to make him breakfast and prepare his lunchbox. He made me clean the house until it was flawless, and I also even had to do his laundry. My salary was basically his at this point. He brainwashed me into believing that using my salary for him gave me happiness, and while I wore worn-out clothes, he bought many branded goods now that he could use both his and my salary freely. Despite all that...
Why are you dressed so badly? You think you can walk next to me looking like that?
On top of bossing me around, he started to refuse to go on dates with me. But at this point, I was starting to feel tired of his arrogance, and I kept on thinking about when I'd get my chance to break up with him. But one day, when he came out of the shower and was getting changed, he dropped a towel in front of me. Then he said without any hesitation,
Hurry and pick it up. Hand it to your master. You're my slave. Your happiness is to follow my orders.
He said. At that moment, my anger erupted all of a sudden. I could have broken up with him right there, but I decided to get the best revenge possible, so I smiled. Here you go. And after I stopped myself from breaking up with him, I handed him the towel. Since then, I did everything he ordered me to do, and I acted out the perfect slave who would do anything he wanted me to do. Soon, on the weekends, he often began forcing me to cook him breakfast and then go out alone looking fancy. And when I heard about the rumor of him dating several female employees at my office, I knew that was the case. But I never questioned him, pretended like I didn't know, and followed his orders for 5 years. Obviously, I no longer loved him, and we were more like master and slave rather than boyfriend and girlfriend. He wasn't sexually demanding because he was having multiple affairs, but I knew he wouldn't let me go because I followed everything he ordered me to do. Five years later, I became 28 and he was 43 years old. He who used to look so handsome at first had gained so much weight eating my high-calorie meals I made for him, and he had basically degraded into a middle-aged man with a round belly. His personality was getting worse, and he started to look down on women in general after treating me so horribly. And his reputation among women in my office was getting worse and worse, rumored that no wonder he was still not married. By the time he became just a grumpy, middle-aged man, I hardly ever heard of rumors about who he was dating or whatnot, and my revenge was at the climax as well. Now that no one was falling for him anymore, he said to me one day,
You want me to get married to you? But instead you have to follow everything I say.
He said to me, so I scoffed. Huh? What are you saying? Who would ever marry a bastard like you? You're the stupid one. We're breaking up. He was shocked and at a loss of words hearing something so unexpected, but I one-sidedly told him. Then I quickly went home. I started to ignore him after that. He was the one who wanted to keep our relationship a secret at our office, so he never dared talk to me from him. We usually communicated on our phones, and he made me own a separate phone just for him with my own money, so I quickly got rid of it. He was starting to panic, unable to contact me anymore. Leaving him be, I started dating a 30-year-old guy who worked in marketing after approaching him bravely. Unlike my previous relationship, where I had to hide everything from everyone, I openly dated my new boyfriend since the very beginning. So we officially became a couple, and everyone was happy for us. Then my ex appeared in front of me when I was alone and demanded that I pay him compensation money. When I asked why, he said he wanted compensation because I was having an affair while I was still in a relationship with him. So I told him that he could ask my new boyfriend directly about when we started dating. I had no obligations to pay him any compensation money because I started dating him after we broke up. Then he left looking regretful. Half a year later, my boyfriend proposed to me, so I accepted. I invited all my colleagues to our wedding, but my ex kept on glaring at me with a regretful expression. At the same time, I found out that I was pregnant, so I quit my job. After giving birth to a healthy baby girl, my colleague, who was my close friend, came to visit me. And because I had broken up with him long ago, I told her about my ex and how I broke up with him. But then she told me that he was no longer at the company. I was wondering why, but apparently after I got married, he started registering for matchmaking websites and started looking for partners. But I guess he was very frustrated about me getting married that he forcefully tried to get married to a woman he met online so that he could get married as soon as possible. And looks like he was arrested after that. The company found out about it and he was fired instantly. Everyone didn't know that I used to date him, so they never bothered to tell me, thinking it was unnecessary. I might have taken too long to get revenge on my ex, but I'm glad he got his punishment he deserved. My family owned an interior construction company, so we had a small truck. When we got what we ordered, the carpenters usually picked them up directly, but they're very busy and often don't have the time to do it. So as part of a service we offered, my husband would bring them directly to the construction site, if the size was carryable with our truck. Then one of my friends, Bishy, asked if she could borrow our truck. When I asked her why, she said she was planning to move to a new house next town and she was gathering all her bulky garbage. She said it would be cheaper if she could bring them into the garbage dump directly rather than having someone pick them up from her house, and it made sense, so I said okay. The next day she gave me a call. I had no plans to use our truck, so my friend came to borrow our truck at around 9 p.m. I'll return it by noon. Then she borrowed our truck, and at around 8 p.m. I'm sorry I'm late. I had more garbage to carry than I expected. She came to return the truck. The next day, my husband went on the truck to deliver some things to the carpenters working nearby, but he quickly came back.
I need to refill the gasoline. I don't have much money right now, so can you give me some?
He said in a rush, but that was impossible. I refilled the gasoline before I lent the car to my friend, so there was no way the gasoline ran out. But when I checked the meter, the gasoline was empty, and the orange light was flickering to inform us about it. I don't want to ask her to return the favor or demand her to refill the gasoline when she only used just a few liters, but it was questionable how she returned the truck back to us with empty gasoline.
I bet she was too tired to care after carrying so much garbage.
My husband said, and when I gave him some money to refill the gasoline, he quickly went to deliver the goods. I had already refilled it before lending it to her, so she must have gone back and forth with a very heavy load or driven through the mountains if she used them all up. Those are the only explanations I can come up with. When I looked it up, the garbage dump closed at 5 p.m. and the roads that led there were nice and flat, and it wasn't that far either, which meant that she used the truck for something else, and I felt suspicious. A week later, Bishy suddenly gave me a call. I'm coming over to your house tomorrow morning, she said to me, so I expected her to bring me the gasoline fees, but she suddenly told me the next morning that she wanted to borrow my truck again, because it was too small to carry everything she wanted to. I was still suspicious about how she used up all the gasoline the other day, and I was also unhappy about how she suddenly told me on the day of that she wanted to borrow the truck without saying anything on the call. I'm sorry, but we have to deliver something, and I refused this time. Huh? Then how about after lunch? It's hard to carry things at noon when it gets dark, and it'll also disturb my neighbors. She kept on making excuses. First of all, we were the owners of the truck, but why did she expect us to do what she wanted? My suspicion had turned into irritation, but I didn't want to have an argument with her, so I took a deep breath. We bought this truck because we want to use it for work. You have to understand that we also have plans. When I said so, that's your problem. You know that I'm moving. So isn't it normal for friends to make plans with that in mind? You can just use another car. I really need that truck. How dare she say that to me? She's the one borrowing it, but she was being very arrogant and I was getting very irritated. I held it in, telling myself that it would all be over when she finishes moving, so I told her that tomorrow worked better for me. I can't tomorrow. I have plans already. Why did she have to be so arrogant when she's the one who has to borrow our truck? I had enough, so I blurted out everything I'd been thinking. Why do I have to do everything according to your schedule? This truck is something we use for our work, not just our private life. I did lend it to you once, but you used up all our gasoline. If you borrow someone else's vehicle, you don't have to refill the gasoline to the top, but at least you should refill to the point it was filled when you borrowed it. But Bishy didn't look like she felt bad at all. Huh? Why do you think I asked you? If I had to pay for the gasoline, why would I borrow from you? I thought you were my friend. You're so stingy for wanting to make me pay. It's up to you what you want to think about me, but I'm out. I lent it to her out of kindness, but I decided not to let her borrow it ever again, and I hung up. Then from early in the morning, Bishy came to visit me. When I was feeling annoyed, thinking she was here to borrow the truck again, despite everything I said to her. Hey, what did you tell everyone? I asked everyone to lend me their vehicle, but because you told them something, they're all refusing to let me borrow it. What? I only told the truth. I just told them that I refused to let you borrow our truck and that you might go and ask for it from others. I also warned them that you'll return their truck after using up all their gasoline. They all don't want me to borrow their vehicles because you told them the unnecessary details. You better take responsibility. How is it unnecessary? You must know how expensive gasoline is nowadays. Isn't it normal for not wanting to lend their vehicle to someone who would return it to them without filling the gasoline after using it? Then Bishy got all red and yelled at me, saying I should do something about it, but when I told her that I'll call the police on her, she left furiously. After that, according to what my mom friend told me, who was also asked by Bishy to lend her their truck, no one agreed to let her borrow it. And because she wasn't able to rent a truck as well, she had to depend on a moving service. Hiring a moving service was easy and fast, but it costs a lot. I did let her borrow my truck once, so if she had the common sense, I would have lent it to her for the second time. But she only thought about herself and ended up losing a lot of money, and I think that served her right. Apparently, she was planning to buy a lot of new furniture for her new home, but because she ran out of money, she had a huge fight with her husband. But according to rumors, her husband was also aware of what Bishy was trying to do, and I guess both of them were trash. And about what happened spread through the mom friends, and her parents also got to know about it. So I guess they were scolded good time about it by their parents. And a few days later, alongside her parents, she came to visit with the gasoline fees and inconvenience fee. I heard that she also got rid of all her furniture because she was planning to buy a new set for her new home. They were able to move into their new home, but they couldn't buy any furniture or household goods. And because they got rid of all of them that they used in their old home, they had to survive in a house with nothing inside. And at the end, they were planning to buy fancy new furniture, but now they live on cheap home appliances from recycle shops and cheap, worn-out furniture. And I heard that they had to go into debt to buy those things. If she hadn't been selfish and had the minimum manners, she would have been able to live a fancy new life. I think they're very dumb. Well, it's all their fault, so I have no sympathy for them at all.
My name is Ian. I live with my wife, May. I met her during my university days, and we dated for 2 years after graduating before getting married. It's our 3rd year of marriage. I thought we both worked full-time until just recently. But I had something I wanted to ask, and when I called my wife's company, I found out the shocking truth. My wife quit her job 3 months ago. At that moment, my mind went blank. Fortunately, I had a day off from work, so I calmed down and tried to think straight. Something big must have happened if she quit her job she's been working after graduating from school. Why didn't she tell me about such an important thing? I was confused. When I reflected on my wife's behaviors, I realized some questionable points. First of all, she started carrying around her phone everywhere she went. Secondly, we weren't sexually active anymore. She told me she was tired from work, but turns out she had quit 3 months ago. Other than that, she would always ask me when I got home and asked for my schedule in detail, including whether I worked till late or had to go drinking with my colleagues and go on business trips. I wouldn't find the answer if I kept on thinking to myself, so I decided to take a paid leave and follow my wife. A few days later, I applied for a paid leave, but I woke up at the same time as usual, got changed into my suit, and left at the exact same time as my daily routine.
What time are you coming home today?
My wife asked as usual, so I answered, "I think I'll have to work till late today. I'll call you again later when I'm sure about the time. I think I'll be home by 8 at the earliest."
I see.
Her lips curved into a smile. I would never think too much about it, but now it was bothering me. What is she hiding from me? I kinda figured, but I decided not to think too much about it until I saw it with my own eyes. "May, you have work today?"
Yep, of course.
My wife was also wearing a suit. My wife and I would usually go to work around the same time. We rode the train from the same station as well, so we usually went to work together. She changed her shoes and she was getting ready to leave for work as if nothing was wrong. I couldn't feel like she was feeling guilty of deceiving me or seemed uncomfortable. She was just natural. My wife and I left the house at the same time and headed to the station. My wife said to me while we rode the same train, "I'm changing trains at the next station."
Okay, be careful on your way. Good luck with work.
"Okay, thanks. You too."
Of course, I'll work hard too.
It was just a casual conversation, but now that I know she had quit her job, everything sounded suspicious. It seemed like she was completely unaware that I knew the truth. Well, no wonder. She had been deceiving me completely until just recently. After getting off the train once, I boarded the same train but onto a different car. I was thankful of my body with no special features, with an average height and weight. I made sure not to stare at her. A while later, if she still worked, she would have gotten off at this station. But she ignored the station she used to get off at and finally got off at a station after riding the train for quite a long time. My wife stopped in front of a fancy new place near the station. I think it was a hair salon that was preparing to open soon. My wife pulled out the keys from her bag and went in after opening the door in a smooth hand motion as if she was used to it. The salon had no blinds and it was mostly surrounded by glass walls, so it was easy to see. I decided to spy on her at the restaurant across the road. She looked like she was doing administrative jobs and checking the stocks of products. Is it that she just changed jobs? At first, that was my reaction. But 30 minutes later, a man in his 30s went inside and the atmosphere changed. My wife stopped working and ran towards him. The guy hugged her and lightly kissed her on the cheek. I was too far away, so I couldn't see very well. My wife and the guy approached the blinds together and pulled them down, looking close to each other. It was as if they couldn't wait for the blinds to go down, and this time I clearly saw them kiss. That guy. I remembered seeing his face before. He was a senior in our club at college, and he was famous for being a player. I've heard that he had multiple girlfriends. My wife and I were both part of the same club, so we both knew the rumor and knew him. But I didn't know she dated him. I asked my wife about her impression of him before.
He looks fun and exciting to be around, but I don't think he's fit for marriage. I think trust is very important in marriage because it contributes to a stable life and reassurance.
She said that to me. I bet the guy is the owner or manager of this salon. An hour and a half later, they left together and started walking somewhere. My wife held hands with the guy, but he pushed her hand away. He lightly hit my wife's head as if to scold her. Probably from his experience of dating multiple girls at once, you never know who's watching, so I bet he doesn't like being touchy outside. When I followed my wife, I ended up finding out about the shocking truth. I lost motivation to follow her around the rest of the day, so I called it a day there. When I went home at around 8, my wife greeted me.
You're home?
I'm home. Did you just come home as well? The kitchen table was full of groceries and bags that had food inside.
Yeah, I went to the supermarket after work. I was too busy to cook dinner, so I bought some ready-to-eat meals there. Do you want some?
She was having an affair, but she came home after getting some groceries at the supermarket on her way back. I lost my appetite seeing her like that. Sorry, I'm not hungry today, so I'll go to bed.
Okay, good night.
Oh, by the way, a business trip is coming up. I had no plans to go on any business trip, but I told her that anyways. It's a 2-night, 3-days trip next weekend.
Really?
My wife's face softened. Yeah, I'll tell you the details tomorrow. I told my wife about the business trip that was never gonna happen, and I also hired a lawyer regarding her affair and got myself a detective as well. I was planning to stay at a business hotel on those days. I lied to her to catch her off guard. I told her I'd be on a business trip to catch her off guard and collect proof of her affair. It's like I'm in a drama series. On the day of my fake business trip, I relied on my detective to follow my wife around. According to the detective agency, my wife and her lover boldly went inside our house where we lived together. I met up with my detective near my house and decided to barge in together. Of course, I had my camera ready to capture the moment as proof. When I unlocked the door and quietly went in, I heard my wife's high-pitched voice and the bed creaking. It was coming from our bedroom. Sweat was pouring out, sensing something really bad was happening. Gosh, they can't be serious. I'm about to lose my sanity. I peeked inside after I quietly opened the door to the bedroom. The two of them were busy getting on top of each other. I had more than enough proof, but I felt no joy, and I was just shocked. I yelled at the two of them. Hey, what is going on? The two of them instantly faced me. The guy fell off the bed, pathetically. He seemed weak in his waist. My wife gathered her clothes that were scattered everywhere around her and tried to hide her body with them. They were both pale and trembling. How dare you invite him to our bedroom?
I'm sorry, darling.
I'm sorry. We usually only do it at the hotel or my salon, but I got sidetracked and...
They were panicking, and they told me everything I asked. It seems like she was already in a sexual relationship with him even before we met, but she boldly accepted my proposal and dated me. It turns out that she had been deceiving me for the past 5 years. The reason my wife didn't get together with him was because he didn't have a stable job after he graduated from college and had an unstable life. The reason why she quit her job was because she wanted to spend more time with him. She planned to get a job at his salon soon. To sum it up, you dated me because I already had a job at a large corporation and had a decent amount of income? And you always planned to have an affair with him and cheat on me?
I just wanted to enjoy a stable life and an exciting love life at the same time.
After realizing how selfish my wife was, we got a divorce specifying her affair as the reason for our divorce. I made each of them pay me $300,000 as compensation. The guy had finally managed to open his own hair salon, but he had to sell it just to pay me compensation money. My wife had no savings left because she had quit her job and was enjoying her affair. It looks like their exciting love affair has come to an end, but I bet now they're living an exciting life of repaying their debts.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.